Welcome to the Equipped Disciple channel. My name is Rick McClatchy. I will be your host. We are here to be and to make disciples of Jesus, and we do that through daily devos, through Sunday sermons, and through other discipleship resources. We are here to equip you. All right, welcome into another day of your daily devos. I'm Pastor Rick. Welcome in. Welcome in. We are finishing up Proverbs chapter 27 today. As iron sharpens iron, so one man what? Well, stick with me and we'll figure it out. Let's jump on into verse 15. If these videos are benefiting you, it would be so awesome. If you could like, comment, subscribe, just pitch on in, because every time you do that, it tells YouTube that this is a good video and that you should watch it and other people should watch it and other people should watch it. And so the more you can help me out with that, I will be so grateful. All right. So with all that being said, verse 15, an endless dripping on a rainy day and a nagging wife are alike. I tell you what, this nagging wife just keeps making a comeback, you know, just when you think you've heard everything there is to hear about the nagging wife, she comes back. She comes back for more. Isn't that just her style? No. And I just think, it's just a, reconfirmation of what we've talked about before and how important it is when you read a verse like that. If you're the husband, you don't just be all like, yeah, nag, you know. You have to think to yourself, what am I doing? What am I doing to create an environment where she feels like nagging is necessary? Now, if you have a nagging wife, that doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're doing something that, is making her feel like she needs to nag. It might just be how she rolls. But most of the time you are kind of complicit in what's going on. So just pay attention to it and make adjustments as necessary and all that good stuff. If you're the wife and you feel like you have built up for yourself a reputation of being a little bit of a nag, is just to sit back and evaluate, why am I doing it? What is my motivation? What's happening? Because that's kind of the whole point of a majority of what we go through in the book of Proverbs is so that we can identify what's going on. It's like G.I. Joe says, knowing is half the battle. Knowing is half the battle, folks. So we can know what's going on and we can make some adjustments and we can see the power of God working in us to make those adjustments. So verse 16, the one who controls the wind and grasps oil with his right hand, which basically means you can't control her. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, the wind is not controllable. The oil, grasping it in your right hand, not controllable. You can't grasp it. It just goes right through your fingers and, it's a big mess. Verse 17, iron sharpens iron and one person sharpens another, folks. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. I want to take a couple of minutes here just to really focus in on this verse because I just think that there's just so much value in this verse. Let's talk about a few things when it comes to iron sharpening iron. First and foremost, it takes proximity. Even in this case, I'm going to say even physical proximity. Physical proximity would be the most advantageous, the most desirable situation for iron to sharpen iron, because there's just something more complete about physical proximity over maybe a digital proximity. Like if you were meeting over Teams or over Zoom or, FaceTime or whatever. Physical proximity just is like the most desirable, the most effective way for this to happen. So invest, it's like a good friend nearby is better than a brother far away. We read about that a day or two ago. I kind of lose track. Okay. So proximity is important. And then iron sharpening iron, it is really the entire process is a process of friction. So therefore that means that not all friction is bad. Really, maybe friction is always bad potentially, but it's not really bad. It's how you handle it, how you respond to it. Because friction is gonna happen. Like, it's a guarantee situation. When you bring two different people together, they're gonna rub each other the wrong way. They're going to have different opinions. They're going to have different strategies. And we have to figure out ways to work together through all of it. So iron sharpening iron is a process of friction. Don't run away from it. Learn how to manage it. Learn how to respond to it so that you get actually the most benefit out of the friction. To take the iron sharpening iron, if you are merely just kind of rubbing the iron together indiscriminately, well, then it's not very effective and it doesn't really accomplish the work that you would hope would be accomplished. But if you do it at the right angle and with the right pressure, and you do it the right number of repetitions, then you get the sharpened blade the way you need it to be, and it works. But it has to be some intentionality in that friction. So it needs to also be repeated and consistent. Again, it can't be random. It can't just be haphazard. It needs to be focused. It needs to be on purpose. It needs to be repeated. It needs to be consistent, which means you got to stay. It means you got to stay, because sometimes when we encounter friction, it makes us want to run away because it's just hard. It's hard. It's tiring. Did I mention it's tiring? It's exhausting. It's tiring. It's hard. And it makes you want to quit. It makes you want to walk away. It makes you want to avoid. But in order for us to gain the most value out of this iron sharpening iron process, is for it to be repeated and to be consistent, really almost to seek it out. And again, it's got to be intentional. We need to do it on purpose. We need to focus on how we're doing it so that we do it the right way, so that we get the right product out of the friction. By the way, you may lose part of yourself in this process. If you think about what is actually happening in the iron sharpening iron kind of scenario, is that metal is being knocked off of metal. Ugh. Like, you're losing part of who you are. But the goal of it is to lose the bad parts, the imperfections, the hang-ups, the blind spots, because that's how we help each other, is we help knock off those rough edges. We smooth things out, or we make the things that are supposed to be sharp, sharper, so that they actually cut through what they're supposed to cut through, rather than just making a terrible mess because you're just squishing things rather than cutting through things. Like, you ever had that knife, you try to cut the bread and it just squishes the bread into smithereens, and that's a technical term anyways. But anyway, so you lose parts of yourself. So you have to be willing to surrender to the process a little bit, this intentional, consistent process. You need to recognize that it's going to hurt, and you're going to feel probably like you're losing a little bit of who you are in the process, but know that that is the healthy part of the process. So don't run away from it. Stay in the mix, stay in the heat, stay in the friction. Now, and it will produce a work that is fruitful, full of function, and result in greater usefulness for the kingdom of God, for just being able to serve the people around you, your spouse, your kids, all that kind of stuff, because it shapes you and forms you more into who and what God has designed you to be. So that, my friends, is just what I want you to think about when you're thinking about iron sharpening iron, thinking about proximity, thinking about friction, thinking about repeated and consistent process, thinking about the intentionality that's required in this process, and the fact that you might lose some of yourself. And maybe, as you're growing in knowledge of who you are and all that kind of stuff, is maybe you take some time to go, you know what? I'd be okay with losing this or that or the other part of me. Recognizing the parts of you that are not quite what God wants them to be. so that you can, again, be more fruitful, have greater function and greater usefulness. Verse 18, whoever tends to a fig tree will eat its fruit, and whoever looks after his master will be honored. So tend to the fig tree if you want to have food to eat. Don't wait until you're hungry. Don't wait until you're starving to death to go and find some fruit on the tree that you should have been tending to. And I like to think about this in regards to, because we're coming right off of verse 17 of iron sharpening iron. So I like to think about this verse in regards to relationships, because relationships and community are super vital and super needed. However, when life is good, when things are just humming along, guess who thinks they need help? Guess who thinks they need community? Not me, because everything's going great. But what happens if I wait until everything goes south and goes sour in my life, and then I decide I need to go build some community? I'm going to find out that, I should have been tending to that fig tree for quite some time so that when I needed it, I could have eaten of its fruit. There's an investment and a tending to that is required in community and relationships so that you can get back the thing that you need when it's your time of need, because you have to build relationships with people so that there's a sense of commitment, of heartfelt connection. As water reflects the face, so the heart reflects the person. I think that is a good call. Again, just going back to the importance of the heart and how critical, guard your heart, for out of it flow all the issues of your life. It reflects the entirety of who you are, comes out of your heart, which means it's coming out of your mouth, which comes out on the way you live, how you treat other people. Sheol and Abaddon are never satisfied, and people's eyes are never satisfied. And this is really like keying in on the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, the pride of life. I mean, this is like people's eyes, their lust for inappropriate, sex, lust, that kind of stuff, or their lust for, food, or their lust for power, or their lust for riches. It's never satisfied. What is the correct answer to how much more money do you need? I just need a little bit more. How much of that thing that you're addicted to? I just need a little bit more. And so just recognizing these things in our lives that are so destructive are never satisfied. And when they don't satisfy up front, it gives you a greater opportunity to say no to it, because you see through the lies that it is telling you that it's going to make you happy, that it's going to make you contented, that it's going to make you satisfied, because it doesn't satisfy. As a crucible refines silver and a smelter refines gold, so a person should refine his praise. Now, the Hebrew could also read that the praise that a person receives refines the person. So a person should refine his praise. So you may, receive a lot of praise and accolades and that kind of thing. And you need to be careful at what kind of praise you receive and how you allow it to impact you, because some people could be throwing that stuff your way to manipulate you, to charm you, to suck you into their little plan. And so it really does refine you to pay attention and be discerning about those things. Though you grind a fool in a mortar with a pestle along with grain, you will not separate his foolishness from him. Like, that's how locked in that foolishness is with the fool. So probably don't spend a lot of time trying to do that. Know well the condition of your flock and pay attention to your herds. A lot of times this verse is used in the pastoral context, which, I mean, it's not breaking any biblical principle to use it that way. In the context, it's not really what it's talking about. So it is a little bit of a stretch, but like I said, as a pastor, you should know well the condition of your flock and pay attention to your herds. Okay. I mean, but it's going on to say, for your wealth is not forever, and not even a crown lasts for all time. And when the hay is removed and the new growth appears and the grain from the hills is gathered in, then the lambs will provide your clothing and the goats the price of a field. So it's talking about how the flocks and the herds are going to provide you your living. So pay careful attention, know the state of your flock, know the state of your resources that you have, and then take care of those resources so that in the right time it provides for you what you need. So really, you could almost turn this into like a planning for retirement, planning for the next season, type of wisdom approach to life, rather than, just putting it in the little tiny context of, let's read this at the pastors conference so that all the pastors, pay attention to the state of their flock, which of course they should, so that's, again, it's not a bad application. It's just, it limits it a little bit. There will be enough goat's milk for your food, food for your household, and nourishment for your female servants. So it's just like across the board, know the state of your flocks, tend to it well, and it will provide for you for a long time. So there you go. Iron sharpens iron, baby. And, you're refined by your praise, right? And so watch out the praise that you receive, and I think also the praise that you give, because that can be refining for yourself and for other people. So with that, God bless you. Have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.